We're going to tie a spruce moth, which is a fly that's used quite a bit in Idaho and Montana along the rivers that have spruce trees. These moths fly down, land in the water, and then get consumed. I suppose here in Colorado we could use them as a hopper pattern of some kind. Just change the colors up a little bit. We're going to start with your regular dry fly, whatever hook you want, but we're not going to start in the vise. What we're going to do is we're going to take some foam, and what we're going to do is poke this through the end, right in the middle of the foam, so it's hanging on here. Then we're going to put it in our vise. Now that it's in the vise, we can get some brown thread and tie on our thread. Take the thread all the way back to the bend of the hook. You want to pull this foam out of the way so you can get it all the way back here to the back. What we're going to do is bring the foam underneath the hook this time, and we're going to go around loose, kind of turn the foam away from you in this case, and then pull up. Cinch it tight. 3 wraps is good. We're going to move the thread forward a little bit. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to go around the foam lightly, cinch, 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 pull the foam out of the way, go forward a little bit. And what we're doing is making segmentation with this foam. Now this last one, what you want to do is make sure you have a little bit of room at the eye, so not all the way to the eye, but very close to the eye. We're going to cinch that in. And always go a couple in front of it. At this point, I'm going to take my thread and just kind of hang it out of the way. What I want to do is I want to cut this excess off very flush, as flush as I can. But don't throw it away. We're going to use this in a minute. Once we have that cut off, what we want to do is just clean this up a little bit by the eye. Try to get all of the foam out of the eye of the hook so that we can at least fish it. We're going to come right back in with that same foam. And we're going to end up coming in right here at this bottom, but where we're going to tie it in is up in the eye. So we want this to foam extend past that first segment. This time we're going to hold the foam a little bit towards us because it's going to rotate just like that. And we're going to come up over and come right into that first segment and tie it in. All the rest of the tying is going to be right at that segment. So we're going to cut this part off very flush as well. Once you cut it off, put a couple wraps in there, make sure we've got that foam in there nice and tight. We're going to take care of this back tail. We're going to cut a very long triangle in it. So the first cut will look like that. We're going to come back on the second one, so it looks like that. So it looks like this. Then we're just cutting the tip off, squaring it up, so it kind of looks like an extension. Now we need to get some poly yarn. We're going to start with some tan poly yarn, and I use about a strand, a pretty long strand, but about this thick. I fold it in half, so I'm going to double the thickness of it, but I just cut it in half. So this is about how much poly yarn we're going to use. I'm going to tie it in X-wing format. So I'm going to come in, and my poly yarn is going to be angling away from the fly, and then I'll give it a couple good turns in there. And then I'm going to take the other side and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to make it X'd out that way as well and tie it in good. I like to take my bodkin and go through these things because they get these little knots in it, in the poly yarn, and you just want to separate those knots out so that we are able to put a comb through it here in a second. Get this side a little bit. Now I'll take a comb, put it in there, just kind of comb it out. Now these moths have a dark back. It's usually what they like to do is tie in some cinnamon poly yarn. This is about the closest I think I can come. It's the scarlet color, but if you like it like a brown more, then tie in a dark brown. That'll work too. We're just going to cut it in half again. This time we're going to cut it into quarters, so we're going to fold it over again and cut it in half again. Gives us a little bit thicker portion. We're going to tie it in just so that it extends past that foam body. And we're going to tie it in right in the middle of the base, and not in X-wing type motion. Just like do 3-4 wraps in the thing tie-in, and then a couple wraps in front of it, and then come back with another couple wraps. I'm going to cut this front part off. Now that we have it tied in, we're going to use our bodkin just like we did before, separate it. And we're going to come in, we're going to cut it just a little bit past the foam. Okay. Now we're going to fold our foam over and create a bullet head. I like to keep that little gap that we've got going in there. Somehow we got a couple little hairs caught. Get those out of the way. Alright. Now this foam, we don't really need this on top back here above the wing. So we're just going to cut a very small little diamond in it. You'll see here. Kind of look like that. Alright, time for legs. I'm going to use just regular centipede legs. These happen to be pumpkin. Whatever your favorite centipede legs color is that match what you're doing here. I'm just going to get a turn in there. Pull it tight. I'm going to get a turn on the other side. Put the far legs on now. Tie them in. At this point, I really like to cut the front legs so that they're much shorter. And they'll stick straight out like that. We're going to take just a little bit of dubbing. Your favorite tan dubbing that you have. I'm using super fine because I don't want this to be real buggy. I just kind of want to cover up these wraps of thread that we have in here. It doesn't have to be a lot of dubbing, and that just enough to make sure that we get all the wraps covered and that the legs stay separated. I'm just going to dub right across there, And then we're going to take our whip finisher and we're going to finish right there behind the bullet head. Cut our thread off, and then we're going to just cut these legs a little bit longer than the wing. And looks like I got a few hairs I need to clean up. There we go. That is a spruce moth. Or in Colorado, if you wanted to do more of a yellowish and tan fly, you could tie it in as a hopper.